This is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow.
Still trying to reach out to John DaSilva. As soon as we get him, we'll plug him in. And as I say, he'll talk a little bit about today and maybe if we have a chance to look at tomorrow's as well. But I just wanted to touch on a couple of those while we're waiting. The Temperance Hill Invitational is tomorrow at Belmont. A mile and 5/8, $200,000. And what's notable is the mile and 5/8. You just don't see in New York a lot of marathon racing. Now they've added some of that as Martin Pienza has come over from Southern California. They've added some of that over there, the past 6 months or so, maybe not that long. I find them intriguing. It's a short field of only 6 tomorrow in this Temperance Hill, but it'll be fun to watch and see how they do. Carey Street comes into this off a win in the Greenwood Cup, which is a marathon down there at Parks, 1.5 miles. So we certainly know Carey Street can get the distance. Awesome Vision comes in for our friends at West Point. Does not have a win this year, but has been competitive in the state-bred state ranks. Last up was in an open company optional allowance at Saratoga over a muddy track and ran an okay third, but notable was an okay third. Running second that day was Cigar Street, who came back to run so well in the stake down at Churchill this past weekend. So Awesome Vision, interesting. The DaSilva is another horse who I ran 1.25 miles last time up at Saratoga and just missed, ran a close-up second behind Village Warrior, who's also in here. And I'm almost wondering if both of these horses were looking out in the condition book and saw this stake out there and thought, all right, let's take a shot at that 1.25 miles and see if we have a little endurance. Village Warrior was on the front end the whole way. DaSilva made a nice closing effort to just miss running second. But again, they both ran at 1.25 miles, 1.5 miles. It's a step up distance-wise, but I think they got a little bit of a test anyway to see what their stamina was like. So looks like an interesting race. Being told now that we are joined by John DaSilva. Good morning, John.
Good morning. How's everything?
Very good. How about you?
I'm doing all right so far. Enjoying sunny Florida and on my way back.
There we go. All right. And I said before the break, we take a look at some of the New York action for today and get some thoughts on tomorrow as well. What do you have for us this afternoon at Belmont?
We're starting in race number 3, and that race, is changed completely when you have the scratch of number 2 Island Candy, since that horse ran on Wednesday and got clean. And since you can't change ownership with trainers after the entry, the horse is an automatic scratch, plus it's coming back at the same 25 level it did last time out. So that's now a field of 5, and I'm going to go with number 3, the Wildcat Girl. Here's a horse won for $25,000 last time out, going 7 furlongs. Cut back to 6.5 should be okay. And with Island Candy being out of the race, it wouldn't surprise me, since there's a lack of speed in here, that the Wildcat Girl goes out to front and doesn't look back.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the rest of the field. You may be right. Ocean Boulevard last time showed a little bit of speed, but it just looks like you may be right. The Wildcat Girl may turn out to be the speed in there. All right, what else you have for us today?
I'm going with the Rice entry in the 4th race on the turf. Lucky Leroy Brown, ridden by Taylor, who brought in the Bomber yesterday. And then she's got the first-time start of Pleasant Outlook with Cornelio riding. Both owned by Clyde Rice, the patriarch of the Rice family. And I think either one of these horses could get the jobs in here, even with the first little horse has been working out and being not pleasantly perfect out there now, could be dangerous.
Very good. And you have one more?
Yes, we're going to the 8th race, and basically I saw that as a 2-horse race, between the 7 and the 10. Those are both my keys in my pick 4 play, the 7 and the 10 horse here. Crystal Light, ran pretty well last time out, and I think a repeat of that performance would make that one very dangerous, but at the same time, look who finished right behind, and that was Caribbean Beat. It was that close between Crystal Light and Caribbean Beat, so either one could get the job done here. I'm going to go with Crystal Light, hoping that one might go off a little bit of a better price, but in my pick 4 plays, those 2 are my keys.
And let's mention that again, because it just started last week. You have some pick plays on the Capital OTB website, Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. If folks go over today, what are you looking at today specifically?
When I did yearly pick 4, I gave out 3 tickets. The big ticket is a $50 ticket where I used the 1, 2, 4, 5 with the 3, with the 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, with the 2, 3, 6, 7, 8. I also have a $2 play with my keys of 2, 4, with 3, with 1, with the 6, 7. And then if you just want one horse in each race, I went 4 with 3, with 1, with 7.
All right, and again, folks can find those specifics over on the capitalotb.com website. John making picks each Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. John, let's shift our attention now out to tomorrow, because there's a couple of 2-year-old races I'd like to get your opinions on, the Frizette and the Champagne. Let's take a look at those 2 races and see what you think, because, you know, last weekend out in Southern California, I think American Pharoah stamped himself as the pro tem leader of the 2-year-old division. Angela Renee certainly ran very well and got some experience over the track going west for Todd Pletcher in the 2-year-old filly side of that out in Southern California. But at Keeneland this weekend and at New York, I think we can get some horses that maybe could step up and make a little noise as we start to talk about Breeders' Cup and 2-year-olds. The Frizette tomorrow, Grade 1, $500,000, the 1-turn mile. Cavorting, Ring Knocker, Condo Commando, and John, while we talk, I'm going to pull up some video of the August 31st maiden special weight event for Todd Pletcher and Feathered. A nice win for that one off for fun at 4-5 in the second career start. Now, steps up against some stakes company here, but adds some real intrigue to this race. It's 7 horses, but the 4 I've mentioned, I think, are all very, very intriguing. What did you think in the Frizette?
Well, the one that really intrigues me is what Rudy's built with Condo Commando. I mean, here's a horse, took a shot, ran it for 75, won for fun, wasn't playing, comes back in the spin away and just destroys the field. Now, was it the slop or was a horse that talented? The way Rudy's going, as you saw last Saturday, might be that talented, and this is definitely a horse to beat here. But at the same time, you got to respect Feathers. I mean, come on, the horses really looked very impressive last time out. I mean, I think Feathered could be right there, breaking maiden by 9 3/4 lengths, and, you know, Castellano riding. I'm a little surprised that Castellano did not go to Keeneland today or tomorrow. So I think he really knows he's got something here, and he got a good show with Feathered.
Yeah, that's an interesting take. I think you may be onto something there, because it seems like all the big names are headed out to Keeneland for a couple of big days out there, but Castellano sticks home. Let's shift our attention now out to the Champagne Grade 1 event, another $500,000 on the line. Again, the 1-turn mile down there. El Kabir is interesting off of that second start, maiden breaker up at Saratoga, big win there. I Spent It, of course, already proven a stakes winner as a 2-year-old, winning the Saratoga Special, and a good second to Competitive Edge in the Hopeful most recently. Daredevil is one of those Pletcher horses coming off a big maiden breaker. And while we get your thoughts, John, I'm going to pull up the funny side. August 24th up at Saratoga, and watch number 2 Upstart get it done. Upstart is kind of interesting with a couple of starts so far, a couple of wins. This funny side victory we're going to look at produced a 95 buyer figure, which for a 2-year-old is just kind of eye-popping. It's Rick Violet, and more notable, it's a New York bred, so stepping into open company tomorrow. But what were your thoughts on the Champagne?
And as we've seen, New York breds have done very well in open company this year. They'll be doing it again this week with Day at Spot and discreet mark down in Keeneland. But so New York Reds are good. And Upstart did something you don't see with 2-year-olds. Come off the pace successfully, beginning of the career. Followed up doing the same thing in the funny side. This horse, very dangerous. You have to use Upstart. At the same time, another horse you probably won't be looking at is going to be I Spent It. This is a horse, won the Saratoga Special despite having trouble, then had a bobbled start. Rushed up, was probably too close to the pace of what it wanted against Competitive Edge. Still ran second, but I think this is a horse, if he the first 2 starts, Bruiser's victories, wants to come from off the pace. And if Toscano picks up the mount now, and this horse could break well and avoid trouble, this horse is very dangerous as well.
Yeah, I think they're both fun races tomorrow, and then a couple of, on either side, couple of other interesting stakes races tomorrow as well. John, before we let you go, though, I just wanted to get some opinion. Been talking to everybody this week Your thoughts on this past weekend, which was so important, stepping to the Breeders' Cup. I've already talked about American Pharaoh, who impressed as a 2-year-old. The 3-year-old certainly stepping to the forefront with Shared Belief and Toneless. What were your thoughts coming out of last weekend?
Very impressive by Shared Belief, despite everything that happened, that he still got the job done, despite Victor Espinosa, who, they complain about race riding tactics, does the same exact thing. I mean, if you're going to do something like that, do what Dutcho did against Commentator in the Woodward. Get 2 lesser-known jockeys who really don't care, they know how to lose, and they'll do it the right way if you're going to do something like that. Because remember, he had 2 claimers go up against Commentator, basically tag-teamed them to death to set it up for St. Liam. At the same time, what happened in New York, it's a shame what happened with Wicked Strong, you know, and I'm a little disappointed that Junior is appealing because, look, he says it wasn't consistent, but how often do you make a dangerous move like that and the guy goes down? I mean, you have to get more for what he did. Because the one thing I think we have to say is Marino probably was not comfortable being in the second spot. This was a need-to-lead type, and he didn't like it. He was fighting Alvarado, and Alvarado had his hands full. He should have just went out there to the lead. Who knows if Miller's horse would have fought with him right back. And I just think that he overcompensated and created that whole situation. He should have taken those days. But Toneless, very impressive. What can we say? This horse could be no worse than the 3rd choice in Breeders' Cup Classic. And if his mind is on racing, that's a fair racetrack, he is just as dangerous as anybody else. And I'm definitely going to use him along with Shared Belief.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are looking at the weekend and kind of pointing to Toneless. That's the tone I've been getting over the past few days for people, so that's been interesting. All right, John, we got to move on, but we certainly appreciate the conversation this morning. John DaSilva, racingwithbruno.com, but also capitalotb.com. You can find John's pick selections every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday on our website. Thanks, John. We'll talk to you next week.
You got to take care.
John DaSilva. All right, and again, you can find his selections just started last week, so hop on board. His pick plays, pick 3s, pick 4s, and whatnot, Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. Also should mention over the weekend, you can find selections from Matt Graves as well. So head on over to the Capital OTB website. Handicapper support selections are there. Matt Graves, John DaSilva, you're covered at capitalotb.com. We'll head to our next break, and when we come back, Dave Rodman from Laurel Park. We'll get some thoughts on Laurel racing for Friday right after this. Stay tuned.